الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and sisters. So if you remember, last session we were learning a little bit about the basic fiqh of hadiths, and today we're going to look, inshallah ta'ala, a little bit at who a Nawawi was, and think about the first hadith that he presents in his collections of Nawawi's Arba'un, which is the Nawawi's collection of 40 hadiths. So Nawawi, who was he? Radiallahu anh, he was a 7th century scholar. He was an expert actually in hadith and in fiqh as well. He was a follower of the Shafi'i madhab, so the Shafi'i school of thought. And actually the book of the 40 hadiths says 40, but in actual fact it has 42 hadiths within it, subhanallah. So each time, since the muhaddithin, the collectors of the hadiths, wanted to make collections of 40 based on a hadith. Now this hadith was where the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that whoever collects 40 hadiths shall have my intercession on the Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the Day of Judgment. And so there's a lot of rewards for 40 hadiths. However, the issue here is that most of these hadiths that talk about this reward of collecting 40 hadiths are weak hadiths in themselves. Now, if there are, as far as the fiqh of hadith understanding is, or the science of the understanding of how hadiths are collected or categorized is, if there are many weak hadiths that are brought together, then they strengthen one another and can become hasan in some, hasan or stronger, good hadiths in some circumstances. So the two extra hadiths that Nawawi put in his collection are hadiths there for barakah for him, inshallah ta'ala, that he put there hoping that he would get reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, Imam Bukhari and Muslim, of course, are generally viewed by most of the ulama that their collections are the most authentic collections of hadith, as in the strongest collection of hadith after the Quran. Now, there are some schools of thought, or very minority school of thought, that criticize this and reject this, but the majority of the ulama agree on this. Now, the ulama say, for example, that we should give salutations, salam, on the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam during reading of the hadith, because it makes our understanding a little bit easier. So sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? Because the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when we think about the hadith, this is the words of our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him. And so giving salutations on him before we read the hadith, or obviously while we're introducing the hadith, because you say Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, then this is something that is a blessing in itself, inshallah ta'ala. So let's move on to hadith number 1. So this hadith is the first hadith in the collection, and it makes sense that this is the first hadith in the collection, and we're going to talk about that in a moment, inshallah. So this is on the authority of Abu Hafs Umar ibn al-Khattab, who was Amir al-Mu'mineen. Now he said, I heard the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, deeds or actions are only by intention, and every man shall have only what he intended. So one whose hijrah, or emigration or migration, was to Allah and his messenger, his hijrah was to Allah and his messenger. But one whose hijrah was to achieve some worldly aim, or to a woman he would marry, then his hijrah was to that for which he emigrated. So of course here we're talking about the intention that someone might have towards doing the hijrah itself, but this actions about by intention is applied to everything in the Muslim faith. In order to get barakah for something, we have to have the clear intention for it and have the good intention for it. Now, intention itself, what is it? So an intention can be made in 2 different ways. It must be made in the heart, but it can also be made out loud as well. So when we look at the intention for salah, many of us, for our prayer, many of us will make the intention out loud for the prayer. But there isn't any hadith that we know about that reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made his intention or niyyah for salah out loud. So it must have been a silent intention in the heart. Now, some intentions must be made out loud. So, for example, Hajj. When you go on Hajj, we announce to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the labaik Allahumma labaik, I intend to come on this Hajj to you. So some intentions such as the Hajj must be out loud as well as in the heart. But remember, if you're saying it out loud and it's not in the heart, then it doesn't count anyway. So it must have its origin, the intention must have its origin within the heart. Now, the scholars, when they speak about this particular hadith, they ascertain or they fix on that our intention is essential. This is the main message from this hadith, the main learning point from this hadith. Now, when we look at the hijrah itself, it was a massive test and people really struggled. Imagine, you suddenly have to up and leave your homeland or your home city in this case, and that you can have different reasons or different intentions behind this. So this is also confirming that the greatest intention or the greatest reward is to do something for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because then we are doing it just to please Allah. And any other benefit we get from that is just an extra thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us as a reward, inshallah. Now, the background here in this hadith was, of course, the mentioning of marriage. So what's that all about? Now, the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum, was so super respectful for one another's privacy. And there was a brother who actually embraced Islam, but he really wanted to marry this particular woman, this particular sister, Qais. Now, Qais had migrated to Medina, but he didn't migrate to Medina. And he then emigrated to marry her. Now, the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum, actually didn't mention their real names so that these individuals would be protected. This brother would be protected. So even though they'd not done anything wrong, they hadn't sinned, their intention was not purely for the hijrah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It had a slightly different intention as well. So it was almost a mixed intention. Now, Bukhari is called Amir of the Muhaddithin. So he was the one who collected and did the most with regards to hadith literature. And he was so super careful. Now, once there's a lovely story about him, about Bukhari. And once he was traveling when he was a young man, when he was a youth. And he actually, subhanAllah, he went blind for a short while. And he was crossing the river Euphrates in a boat. Now, the guy who was in the guy who was in charge of the boat asked everybody to pay the charge for crossing the river. When you go on a ferry, you have to pay, right? So now, Bukhari's mother had given him a small pouch or wallet or bag to keep his money in, that with his money was in. Now, unfortunately, next to Bukhari, there was a guy who was a thief. So when the thief saw this blind guy and saw the wallet, the colour of the wallet, the money, when he gave the fare, when Bukhari gave the fare to the boat owner, the man started to shout, the thief started to shout that his wallet had been stolen and described the wallet that he had seen that was Bukhari's wallet, because he remembered the colour and the style of the wallet. So then he tried to, make out that Bukhari had actually stolen the wallet from him. So the boatman said to the thief, "You must search everybody on the boat." And he did. He searched everybody on the boat and he could not find this wallet. Now, they all got off the boat at the other side of the river Euphrates, and the thief followed Bukhari and said to him, "Where is this wallet? I know that it was there and I know that you had it. Where is that wallet? Where did you hide it?" And subhanAllah, Bukhari said to him, money is not important. I have started a very important work. Of course, this is collecting the hadith, the hadiths and putting them together and, making sure that everything is trustworthy. If I had started this important work and if you had made this, tarnished my reputation, ruined my reputation by making me that I'm a liar or a thief, my work would be doubtful. So then when this happened, I threw the money off the side of the boat and I trusted Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the collection of hadiths of Bukhari. And just imagine if Bukhari had held on to this money, subhanallah, the story would be very different. But because he had so much taqwa that he threw his own money, the only money that he had, over the side of the boat, trusting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would help him and sort him out, which he did, of course, rather than being tarnished or branded as a liar or a thief. This is how much taqwa and iman these amazing shuyukh and these amazing ulama had, radiyallahu anhum. So when we think about this and we think about these hadiths, we must understand that the scholars, the muhaddithin behind them, the ones who collected them, Bukhari, Muslim, and all these amazing scholars, these were people who really we don't see the likes of in our modern times. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them hugely and enter them into the highest level of Jannat al-Firdaus, inshallah. So our next session, inshallah, we will talk about hadith number 1 in Nawawi's 40 hadith in a little bit more detail. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Without your warmth, without your smile, without you by my side, the world was so cold, I felt so